सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ नमो नारायणाय। Namaste to everyone. Hari Om. It is so heartening to see young minds showing interest in spirituality. Spirituality is not just about rituals or religion. It's about understanding ourselves and living with purpose higher than our survival. Today, I want to share a few thoughts on something many of us have heard about, maybe even practiced, and that is Sathya Narayana Vratha. The word Vratham in Sanskrit means a vow, a personal commitment made not to someone else, but to yourself and to the divine. Many think Vratham is just about not eating certain foods or fasting on special days. Of course, actually that is only the surface. Vratham is about self-discipline, self-control and intention. It's about saying, I'm going to live today with a higher awareness on purity, on prayer, on inner values. So how is it different from puja, yoga or meditation? Puja performed so far is a ritual. That's like offering to God through lamps, flowers, hymns, chants. It's beautiful and meaningful and an external way of invoking God. Yoga works through the body, helping us to prepare and align our energy and well-being fit enough for the Vratham. Meditation works on the mind, calming our thoughts and making us inward calm to involve 100% in the Vratham. So now the Vratham involves the whole person, body, mind, emotions and intention. It's like a personal challenge where you say, I won't just pray, I will live my prayer. It is not praising God with superlative adjectives alone, okay, but to live by those values. Just as we say, the truth is God, here in this Vratham, we live by truth to realize God. We live in a time of constant distractions, right? Scrolling, being watching, reacting, comparing. Vratham teaches us to pause and be aware, to choose restraint over impulse, to say no to something small so we can say yes to something higher within us. When we fast, it is not just about skipping a meal, it's about training the inner power. When we avoid negativity, gossips or laziness during a Vratham, we are actually resetting the inner software. So next time you hear somebody say, I am doing a Vratham, don't just think of food and rituals. Okay? Think of a person who is making a quiet commitment to upgrading to a better version of themselves. And maybe try it yourself. Start small, a half-a-day Vratham where you avoid junk food, negative thoughts and spend some time in silence. You will be surprised at the strength and peace it brings. Ultimately, spirituality is not about escaping life. It is about elevating the way we live in. So welcome to Sathya Narayana Vratha, a path of truth and devoted to realization of Narayana. It is truly inspiring to see you, young heart, so gathered here for something spiritual in a world full of distractions. Taking even a few minutes to connect with something higher is a big deal. Today, let's take a moment to reflect on something that many of us have heard about, or maybe even participated in the Sathya Narayana Vratha previously, right? So what is Sathya Narayana Vratha? Satya means truth. Narayana is Lord Vishnu, the protector of the universe. Vratham is a vow, a personal commitment, not just a ritual, but a decision to live with discipline and devotion. So Sathya Narayana Vratham literally means a vow to live in truth, devoted to the realization of Narayana. Yes, we do puja. Here we read the Katha story, read that, and then we offer prasad. But the Vratham is not just what happens at the altar. Okay? The real Vratham is what happens inside us. So Sathya Narayana Vratham is holistic. It's about offering our ego, our pride, and our negativity. It's good, no? But the stories in Sathya Narayana Vratha Katha are timeless. They show that whenever people ignore truth or become arrogant or take life for granted, they fall. But when they turn back to humility and devotion, they rise again. And trust that the divine is watching, guiding, and supporting you always. It is not just about pleasing God, it's about transforming ourselves, and that is a real blessing. So let us start with the first story. The first story of Sathya Narayana Vratham, a lesson in faith and gratitude. Om Namo Narayanaya. Today let's take a few minutes to dive into the first story of the Sathya Narayana Vratha Katha. Simple but powerful tale, full of meaning for our everyday lives. This isn't just a story from some ancient time. It is a story about us, about how we live, how we struggle, and how we forget the very source of our strength. You know, all our vratas originated in Naimisharanya forest, where sages Sanak and Samadhi were learning from Shukash and Shaunaka Maharshis. They are the saints who elevated themselves from the lowest of the society. They guided us all to do various vratas for various purposes. And these vratas are found in Puranas as practical guides for achieving certain specific results. So, here comes the greatest devotee of Narayana, Narada Maharshi, who keeps on chanting the name of Narayana, Narayana all the time. He has a duty to go around all the lokas, universes or matrices to update Narayana. Narayana, lying on his snake bed in Vaikuntha Loka, asked him, "What is special at present?" Narada replied, "All lokas are doing well with your grace." "Oh, good, except the Bhuloka, earth." Narayana was surprised, saying, "Bhuloka? This is supposed to be one of the best. Even the celestial beings like to visit and enjoy there. What is the problem there? I have provided everything for the people to really live happily and enjoy themselves." Narada replies, "No one is truly happy there. In spite of trying their best, everyone is dissatisfied and miserable. For example, like the poor due to poverty. Then what about rich? Rich due to their fear of losing the wealth they already have. And uneducated due to ignorance. Okay, good. What about the educated? They due to their arrogance. Unmarried? Oh, I want a life partner. And what about the married? Again, due to their own life partner. The ugly? They are not happy because their looks. And the beautiful? Due to others' looks on them. The couples for children, and the same suffer from their own children later. Houseless worry about their dream house, and those with the house feel stuck with their properties. So no one is truly happy, my Lord. Happiness is a mirage. So what is the solution? Asked Narada. Narayana explains, saying, all suffering is due to their lack of truthfulness. They are not practicing Sathya Narayana Vratham. which gives them every kind of a boon, known as the king of all Vrathams. Then Narada asks, please tell me the secret of the Sathya Narayana Vratham to reach it to the earth. Please tell me who can do it, when to do it, where to be done, how long it will take, or how to do it, and all this. Narayana responds saying with a smile, everyone can do it. No restrictions whatsoever. Children can do it. The oldest and all genders can do it. It can be done at any time. Better to start it on a full moon day, as it is convenient for guests to travel at night from nearby places in those days. Okay, but it is not a condition. Or any day, any time is a good day to start. It can be continued forever. If the vow is broken for any reason, just start it again. The Vrata Diksha can be performed on the river banks to facilitate the guests so they have enough water. Okay, but this again is not a restriction. It can be done at home, in your workplace, and anywhere and everywhere. So how do you do it? Invite everyone to join you first. It is easier and effective when done as a community. Sathya Narayana Vratha is to be done as a community. Doing individually against the will and support of the society is taxing on you. Also, when someone invites you to join Sathya Narayana Vratha, never say anything objectionable. Simply accept the invitation and attend. Prepare a nice food, offer it to Narayana, and share it with the guests present there. Most people only remember that prasadam and forget everything else. Narada asks for testimonials for those who are benefited by the Vratham. Narayana continues saying, once there was a poor Brahmin. See, hear this, poor Brahmins are very rare. So there was a poor Brahmin who was living in the city of Kashi. He was a good man, honest, kind, but extremely poor. He had no money for food, no stable income, and often went to bed hungry. One day while walking through the streets, he met a white old man. Actually, it is Lord Narayana himself in disguise who came to help him. And the Lord asked, why are you so troubled? The Brahmin says, I try to live a good life. I follow everything, but still I suffer. Nothing seems to go right. The Lord smiled and replied, perform the Sathya Narayana Vratham with sincerity and devotion. It will bring you peace, prosperity, protection, everything you seek for. The Brahmin took the word seriously. He gathered what little he had, performed the Vratham with faith and pure heart. Not for show, not for money, just devotion. And slowly things began to change. His heart was lighter. People came forward to help. He began to live a better life with dignity and joy. So, what does this story mean for us? Now you may think, okay, nice story, but what does it have to do with me? Let's break it down. The poor Brahmin represents all of us, especially in moments when we feel stuck, hopeless, or overwhelmed. The Lord, His appearance in disguise reminds us that help often comes in quiet ways, through people, signs, or inner strength. It's about making a conscious decision to invite truth, Satya, gratitude, and discipline in our lives. The moment the Brahmin shifts from complaining to committing, his life starts to transform. So what is the takeaway for you? Don't wait for perfect conditions to start your spiritual journey. Start where you are, with what you have. You don't need a temple or wealth or fancy items. What you need is faith, intention, and consistency. When life feels uncertain, do what the Brahmin did. Take a vow. Show up with sincerity. The truth is, when we move one step with faith, the divine moves 100 steps towards us. That's when the story becomes more than just a story. It becomes your own path to truth, grace, and growth. Om Namo Narayanaya. Now the second story of Sathya Narayana Vratham. It's the woodcutter's faith. Om Namo Narayanaya. Today let's explore the second story of Sathya Narayana Vratha Katha, the story of a humble woodcutter and what it teaches us about faith, simplicity and taking action. So the story begins. Once in a small village lived a poor woodcutter. Woodcutter means the one who lives on cutting down the forest and our natural resources, He worked hard every single day cutting wood in the forest, selling it in the market and somehow managing to feed his family, the lowest way of livelihood of a laborer. He didn't have much, not wealth, no education, no influence, but what he did have was a pure heart and honest living. One day, as he was returning home after long days of work, he saw a crowd gathered and he found a Sathya Narayana Puja was being performed. Curious, he stopped and listened to the story about Lord Narayana, about the power of the Vratham and how it brings peace and prosperity and performed. He just folded his hands and said, I may not have much, but I want to do this Vratha too. Suddenly, someone from that house where the Vratham is performed came out and offered to buy the firewood which he has. Very much important they are required because of the unexpected guests. The very next morning, with the money he had earned, he bought fruits, jaggeries, some flowers, simple but all he could offer. Cleaned a corner of his home and performed the Vratham, inviting his own, like neighbors and everybody, and with full devotion he did. Guess what happened? From that day onwards, his life began to change. His work became easier, he earned more, and more importantly, his heart felt full and content. He became full inside and outside. Sri Narayana ended the first story. Now tell me, what does this story mean to us today? This woodcutter story might sound simple, but it teaches big lessons, especially for the younger generation. Okay, you need not be spiritual to begin. The woodcutter didn't wait till he had some money or knowledge. He heard something good and he acted on it. So what is the lesson? Don't postpone your growth. Begin with what you have. Second is sincerity matters more. What is the lesson? God doesn't count on your offerings. He looks at your heart. Take one step forward, the universe responds. The woodcutter took one small step in faith and life responded with grace. What is the lesson? Even small efforts in the right direction can bring big blessings. In today's fast-paced world, we wait for the right time. I will meditate when I am less busy. I will start spiritual practices when I am older. I will do the Vratham when I can afford it. But this story tells us there is no perfect time. There is only one, that is now. Om Namo Narayanaya. Now, the next story. Repeat with me. Om Namo Narayanaya. The third story of Sathya Narayana Vratham, a reminder of spiritual responsibility. As we continue exploring the stories from the Sathya Narayana Vratha Katha, we arrive at this story, a powerful lesson for all of us, especially in today's fast-paced, goal-driven world. Right? We want to, not gold, I am telling, goal-driven world. This is the story of a wealthy merchant who had everything except spiritual awareness. Who had all the success the world could offer, wealth, business, influence, but he and his wife had no children. He could solve every issue, but he didn't have an issue. In this distress, the merchant went on a pilgrimage and met a king who was regularly performing Sathya Narayana Vratha and told him, perform the Sathya Narayana Vratham with devotion, the Lord will bless you. Because it came from the king, the merchant had some faith and he prayed earnestly and made a vow, if I am blessed with a child, I will perform this Sathya Narayana Puja. Shared this with his wife Leelavati. She was more than happy. Everyone thinks they can do great things with wealth and money. It is in their own hands. So They go after the wealth, Lakshmi, the consort of Narayana. In that process, they totally neglect Narayana. Not long after the couple was blessed with a daughter, they named that beautiful child as Kalavati. Time passed and Kalavati grew up and they postponed their vow to her marriage. Kalavati got married, but the vow was again forgotten. The merchant and his son-in-law went on a trade journey trying to earn more money. Trouble struck. Lakshmi without Narayana has no power. Everyone believes that if they have wealth, they could achieve great things. So they chase Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, but often forget that she is the consort of Narayana who represents truth and divine presence. What happens if you go after somebody's wife? Okay. Once goddess Lakshmi told Narayana, the world respects me more than you. Wherever I go, people worship me. Narayana smiled and replied, that is because you came with me. Without my presence, your charm fades. To prove her point, Lakshmi challenged him. She saw a dead body being carried by people chanting Narayana's name. Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. They are carrying the dead body. 4 of them are carrying on their shoulders. And a lot of people are all crying and following, chanting the name of Narayana. Using her powers, she showered money on the crowd. Many people stopped chanting and began picking those coins. And Lakshmi proudly said, see, even your name fades in front of my power. Narayana gently pointed to the 4 men still carrying the corpse, chanting his name. Lakshmi then conjured gold and diamonds. The 4 men immediately dropped the body and ran after the wealth. Laughing, Lakshmi said, now do you accept my power? Still calm, Narayana looked at the dead body and said, one is left who didn't run after you. Lakshmi replied, but he is dead. Of course, he won't chase wealth. Narayana replied softly, exactly. When Narayana, truth, the life, leaves the body, Lakshmi has no value. People chase you only when I dwell within them. Without me, even you are meaningless. The truth was lived by the merchant and his son-in-law in the Sathya Narayana Vratha Katha. After gaining wealth through blessings, they forgot Narayana. To teach them the lesson, Narayana appeared as 2 thieves, stole treasure from the king's palace, and went and left that treasure near the merchant's room and disappeared. And police chased these thieves. They came to this point and they saw these 2 fellows sleeping, thinking them as the thieves, wrongly accused, imprisoned. All their wealth has been lost instantly. Only then did they realize wealth without truth is a curse. Lakshmi without Narayana brings only illusion and downfall. So never chase Lakshmi while forgetting Narayana. Wealth should follow truth, not the other way around. Dhana dharma tatha sukham. Dhana with dharma only will give you sukha. Otherwise, only wealth will not give you the pleasure. Only when we honor Narayana, the divine presence, the truth within, does wealth bring true prosperity. So back home, the merchant's wife, who along with her daughter were going through severe poverty, remembered the vow, and they had made and decided to perform the Sathya Narayana Vratham herself. Miraculously, soon after her puja, the king of that land where they were imprisoned had a divine dream and realized the merchant and his son-in-law were innocent. He went and fell at their feet, sought their excuse, and he released them, returned their wealth. They began their journey back home, unaware of the deeper divine plan unfolding. On the way, they stopped at a city of Bharuch, that is Bhrugupura, where Lord Narayana himself appeared, this time in disguise as a saint, and asked them, what are you carrying in your boat? Still distracted and proud, the merchant jokingly replied, hey, this is not a boat, this is a ship. Nothing much, you don't understand. Just some dry leaves. Go. The Lord simply said, as you speak, so shall it be. Tathastu. When they reached the ship, they were shocked to see that the riches had turned into dry leaves, just as he said. Tathastu. The merchant realized his mistake, his casual attitude, his ego, and his failure to speak truthfully, even after all that had happened. He rushed back, found this saint, begged for his forgiveness, and only after that were the riches restored, and here the third story ends. But the lesson was not over yet. Even though the story seems just like another tale of make a woe, forget it, suffer, then fix it, there is a deeper meaning for our generation. One is spiritual promises are not just rituals. The merchant's mistake was not just forgetfulness, it was spiritual negligence. He treated God like a business deal. Give me this and I will do that. Like I will give you a coconut, give me a coconut grove. Then he didn't hold up his side. Okay. Let's not treat spiritual woes casually. When we say, I will change, I will pray, I will be better, we should mean it. The second one is family and community can carry the faith. The merchant forgot, but his wife remembered, and her faith became the turning point. Sometimes when one person falters, another's devotion can hold the light. So that's what the family is for. Never underestimate the power of a sincere family prayer, even from one heart. Third one is things don't go wrong, they go unnoticed. The arrest was not a punishment, it was a wake-up call. When we drift away from our values, sometimes life shakes us up to help us realign. Challenges can be divine nudges back to the path we promised to walk. So where the story ends for now, the merchant and his son-in-law begin their journey back home, their problems seemingly resolved, but one more test awaits, and we will see in the fourth story. So, what can we take away from this third story? Keep your promises not just to others, but to yourself and to the divine. Stay grounded in gratitude, especially when life is good. Let faith be shared in families, in communities, in moments of forgetfulness. Let's be spiritually responsible, not just spiritually reactive. Om Namo Narayanaya. The fourth story. The fourth story of Sathya Narayana Vratham is finish what you start. Let's say once again. Om Namo Narayanaya. This is just the conclusion of the merchant's journey, and perhaps the most dramatic and eye-opening part of the entire Vratham. This story is not just about divine punishment, it's about how even a small break in focus, even at the end, can lead to big consequences in our spiritual and personal lives. So, after many ups and downs, the merchant and his son-in-law were released from prison and regained their wealth. Now they were returning home by ship. As they neared the port, they anchored the ship and sent a messenger ahead to inform the families of their safe return. At home, the merchant's wife and daughter, they were doing Leelavati, Kalavati, were in middle of performing the Sathya Narayana Vratham. But when they heard the good news, they became overwhelmed with emotion. Eager to see their loved ones, they left the Vratham incomplete and rushed to the seashore. What happened next shocked everyone. As soon as they arrived, right before their eyes, the ship filled with all the wealth and their loved ones sank into the sea. In grief and shock, both women just fainted, collapsed on the shore, crying for mercy. A voice from the divine in that moment, as a celestial voice was heard. You have disrespected Vratham by leaving it incomplete. Return, complete it with devotion, and only then will all be restored. It so happens sometimes you are doing some Vratham, maybe even marriage is a Vratham, and suddenly some VIP comes, you leave that place and go to receive him. It is a disrespect to the Vratham that you are doing. So realizing their mistake, the wife and daughter rushed back, completed the puja with sincere reverence. As promised, the ship rose again from the sea, and their family was reunited, not just physically but spiritually awakened. This fourth story is incredibly powerful. It reminds us of one key principle in life and in spirituality especially. It's not enough to start something with devotion, we must also finish it with full awareness. Let's explore three key takeaways from this. One is spiritual discipline must be complete. Purnamada Purnamidam. Here it is complete, then there also it is complete. Stopping the Vratham even at the final stage may seem like a small thing, but it reflected a loss of focus and reverence. In life, how we finish matters as much as how we begin. Well begun is half done, right? But in life, how we finish matters as much as how we begin. Emotions should not override dharma. Yes, the joy of reunion is natural, but they let emotion interrupt devotion. We must balance emotion with discipline, especially when it comes to honoring spiritual commitments. And the third one is grace returns when we correct ourselves. The divine is not harsh, but we need to be sincere. Grace follows humility and effort. That's where the real transformation lies. Let's complete what we start. Om Namo Narayanaya. Now the last and the fifth story. The fifth story of Sathya Narayana Vratha, honoring the humble. Om Namo Narayanaya. We now come to the fifth story in the sacred cycle of the Sathya Narayana Vratha Katha. A story that reminds us of one powerful truth. Never judge devotion by appearance and never ignore an invitation to grace. Here the story begins. Once upon a time, in a dense forest, a group of tribal children, simple, pure-hearted and uneducated by worldly standards, were performing the Sathya Narayana Vratha. They didn't have fancy ingredients or formal rituals or expensive costumes. They offered what they could: fruits, flowers, honey, water, and most importantly, their innocent devotion. They kept one stone as their idol and performed puja. They were just saying Sathya Narayana ki jai, Sathya Narayana ki jai, jai. As they were about to distribute the prasadam, a king happened to pass by with his royal entourage. Seeing the children and their humble setup, the children respectfully invited the king. "O king, please join us and accept this prasadam from the Sathya Narayana Vratha." They offered in a leaf. King eats in a golden plate. So the king, proud of his position, refused with arrogance. He thought, "What can these poor forest children offer me?" and rode away, dismissing the invitation. Soon after, something strange happened. Despite being a powerful ruler with maps and guards, the king lost his way in the forest, just like we lose our GPS signals. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't find the path back to the palace. As confusion returned, like they turned to frustration, the king began to realize this wasn't just a physical problem, it was a spiritual wake-up call. That is his brilliance. He humbly returned to the children and apologized for his arrogance. The children, with no pride or anger, simply smiled and led him safely back to his kingdom. So what does this story teach us? Though it is short, this story is full of deep wisdom, especially for today's world, where we often confuse spiritual values with status, appearance, and ritual perfection. The one point is, sincerity matters more than status. The tribal children had nothing but love and faith, and that was enough. The king had everything but lack of humility, and he lost his way. God sees the heart, not your title or wealth. True devotion is simple and sincere. The second thing is, never reject an invitation to grace. The king didn't just reject the children, he rejected an opportunity to receive prasadam from a sacred ritual. When someone offers you prasadam, a chance to attend a puja, or hear a divine story, don't ignore it. Accept it with reverence. Third is pride blocks our path. Humility restores it. The moment the king became arrogant, he lost his way. The moment he bowed his head down, the path became clear again. In life, when we are lost spiritually or emotionally, it is often humility that brings us back home. So let us learn to recognize grace and never turn it away. The Sathya Narayana Vratha is more than a ritual. It is a way to live truthfully, speak mindfully, stay gratefully, and walk the path of sincere devotion, not just in temples, but in daily life. Let us carry these lessons with us and not just remember God when things go wrong, but keep Him with us even when everything is right. Om Namo Narayanaya. To wrap up all these timeless values from the Sathya Narayana Vratha Katha, today let us reflect on deeper meaning behind the beautiful and sacred Sathya Narayana Vratha Katha. These are not just religious tales, they are mirrors of human nature, filled with timeless values we can apply even today. It is the power of truth. The word Satya means truth, and that is the heart of the entire Vratham. In every story, from the poor Brahmin to the king to the merchant, we see one message repeated. Truthfulness brings grace. Falsehood brings suffering. Even when the merchant forgets his promise to Lord Narayana, his life turns upside down. Not because God is punishing him, but because he broke his word. What is the lesson? In a world where it is tempting to lie or hide or twist the truth, truthfulness is still the most powerful and liberating path. Gratitude and remembrance is the next one to keep with us. Many of the characters forget God after receiving blessings. They become proud, or careless, or lazy in devotion. This shows us how easy it is to remember God in struggle and forget Him in success. Sankata bandare Venkata Ramana, they say in Kannada. The Vratha reminds us to practice gratitude consistently, not just when we want something, but especially when we are blessed. That's why this Vratha is normally performed when you do the housewarming, or when you are married, just or you got a child, or anything that you do, or anything you get as a blessing, you do this Vratha, thanking. Know that being thankful is not just polite, it is spiritual. Keeping promises and integrity is the next one that we have to carry from here. Another major value. So doing what we said, do what you say. Several characters in the stories make a vow to perform the Vratham, but they delay it, neglect it, forget it, and that brings consequences. Not because God is angry, but because our words have power, and breaking our word affects our inner harmony. So what is the takeaway? Keep our promises, even the ones you make to yourself. The last but not the least is equality and accessibility of God's grace. One of the most beautiful messages in this Katha. Because God's grace is for everyone, rich or poor, king or peasant. The poor Brahmin receives the Lord's blessing just like the wealthy merchant. This teaches us humility. Status doesn't matter in spiritual life. What matters is faith and sincerity. So the next time we listen to the Sathya Narayana Vratha Katha, let's not just admire the story, let us live the values it teaches. Be truthful even when it is hard. Be grateful even when life is smooth. Keep your word even when no one is watching. And stay humble no matter how high you rise. Do you have something to take away from this? Now share it. It's your turn. Because in the end, it is not just about doing a ritual. It's about becoming a better human being. Thank you. I am Ravisankar. Om Namo Narayana.